Hello Tubesters, it's Gav. Welcome to another one of my videos. In this video, you'll see by the thumbnail, it is a thumbnail, isn't it? I believe it might be. We've just got the two Khorne Berserker Chaos Space Marines from the world of 40k Games Workshop. Warhammer 40k Games Workshop. You knew that already. Most of you. I don't know a lot. I've never said I do. I just enjoy painting different figures. I've had these in my drawer. I did an attempt to paint them. I mean, these are about 12 years old, gotta be. Might be a bit younger, but I literally bought them out of a Games Workshop store. That must have cost me a fortune. But yeah, we were just passing at the time, and I was getting back into more seriously painting my figures, and I thought, yeah, they're not historical, but I'll give, because I was never into them as a kid. Well, not as a kid, I weren't around when I was a kid, but you know, 1820s, 30s, whenever I was painting, I just never, I always used to have a good look at the displays in the window of the painted figures, but I've always been a historical. Star Wars, yeah, and obviously since then Harry Potter as well, but like with the Harry Potter stuff, that's as in the figures and the books and the films and stuff, I'm more into the original Harry Potters than I am the magical creatures, although they obviously all go backwards and forwards tying into each other. There's a strand obviously goes, well, most of these universes as they're called, goes through, but Star Wars is always, I've actually got a Star Wars video coming up next. The Star Wars stuff, I mean, I saw originally Star Wars back in '77 when it came out, and I was just been enthralled ever since, really. 40k, as I say, in a grimdark future, there is only war. Yes, I am. I'm available for voiceovers should you need me. It really is a grimdark future. There is no joy. But they've got some cracking figures to paint, and whether you know it's a Space Marines, whether it's and obviously these are the enemy Space Marines. Unless you're a Chaos type person, then they're not the enemy. But they've got all that stuff. But if you go to their Age of Sigmar, you've got all the fantasy type stuff, you know. And I just like to occasionally get a figure and paint them, you know. These I just happen to have three. I think I had 3-4 left in the bottom of a dusty drawer. They're still in the box, and so I decided to have a go at those because I wanted to practice trying the reds on them. So I've done slightly different red tones on them, not a lot. The bases I've put them on some decent enough bases just to show the figures off, really. The bases could be a heck of a lot better if I wanted to put more attention into them. But it was really, I mean, these aren't for, I can't see anybody buying them off me. They really are just for, they were just a practice on, really. I think that's it. Yeah, so let's go down to the bench and look at my two Chaos Khorne Space Marines. Here we go, guys. If you didn't know, I should have said Khorne is one of the demons of chaos. There's Nurgle, which is all rot. There's Zinch, is either Lord of Change or Demon of Change, and Slanesh, like the hedonistic demon, and Khorne is the blood god. But basically, well, they're all just ruthless killers with all different horns and tentacles and goodness knows what growing out of them. They did used to be humans, but they've gone into like this demonic warp zone type area. And I'm sorry to the 40kers out there. I don't mean to be disrespecting this. I'm trying to break it down in the lowest possible terms to the guys that don't follow any of this type of stuff. So yeah, these are the bad guys against humanity. They used to be Space Marines. They followed their lord into the warp chaos zone, as it's called. Well, it's not a zone, but called chaos. And they had their minds twisted, and now they all follow all the demons and stuff. Anyway, there you go. roughly like that. So some photos at the end. I've given this guy, I wanted to do it, it's a pinkier type red, if that makes sense, and I've used that by Also putting down the Vallejo, no, is it Vallejo or is it AK? No, it's AK. AK next gen fluoro paints. Now, fluoro paints will not give you a like a fluorescent look, if that makes sense. They're there to see a bit of a blob there, and it shines. And I've put white on. That's a bit of super glue, painted white, and then a couple of layers of the fluoro paint on top. You have to build fluoro up a lot. It hasn't gone on top. What I've been doing is I wanted to see what it was like putting a red down. Obviously in the shadow areas different colours of red, but putting a red down and putting some straight fluoro paint over the top, but then putting more red on top at different colours, obviously with obviously for the highlights, with some more fluoro paint in. It was just an experiment really, just to see what it would look like. So like Charlie Mack, this guy likes collecting skulls. If Charlie Mack was a Chaos Space Marine, he would probably look like this. Also, a big faux pas on my point, I am the guy that can't put models together, and I managed to. I was so impressed with this, I thought, yeah, that's a nice shape that is, going down there, nice, I'll stick that on, because they give you loads of extra bits to stick on. Without realising, I'd stuck, it should be the other way around, going around his waist, so the pouch is upside down, so is the grenade, obviously it's all one pressing. Oh well, what can we do? I did try and remove it, but I'd done such a good job on sticking it on, bearing in mind I'd painted all around it already. I went, nah, not happening. Non-metallic paint, I tried to do a cold one here, so I tried to use cold tones in doing the non-metallic. I don't know if it's worked particularly well, but I don't do a lot of it, so it's like everything, it's practice. Tried to put some striations and that in, so it's like real horn, that one. And I wanted this skulls to be like a cold look. Again, everything fairly cold on this. So that is blue foam, as you'd probably imagine. What else? Can't remember if I put a bit of cork rock in there as well, I'm not sure. Bit of the plastic evergreen stuff, you know, the box section there, with some stripped down wires. Well, the wires weren't stripped down, but obviously pulled, you know, the ones that were in the centre core, pulled them through. Still prime them all black, and then just put a touch of colour on top just to show some cables going through. This is, obviously as a painter I have a lot of paintbrush holders, you know, the bristle protectors, and I keep them all because they make great bits of short pipe. So that's that. The Rio bar going through here is just chunky paper clips cut up. That's what I use for mounting figures if I'm painting them, or if I'm like these guys, putting one in the foot and one into the base. But I keep all the offcuts, and then I just keep snipping away, and they make handy bits of Rio bar or whatever else you might need them for. And this piece at the top is AK, I believe it's AK. It's like their thin cork series that they use for like tarmac and stuff. You can get like it's like a A4 or something, and there's different scales of it. So I just put that on top, and then obviously did a bit of sand in places with some bits of shell that's broken up inside that they do for budgies and things. Yeah, and then a bit of woodland scenics. It's supposed to be thick grass or something. I just use it for moss. I'll usually paint it up, but I just left it on this case. So that's that guy. This one was slightly, I didn't use as much of the green. I didn't use as much of the fluoro in this one. Tried a couple of different paint jobs to get the same effect. It was just practicing. I tried to make like a non-metallic horns, like they were gold, and rather than have the gold on the tips, put the red on the tips. I know I'm not following any particular colours with these chain swords. They're probably supposed to be a particular colour, I don't know, but I just put my own in. What you try and do though is like work off the green. So if you've got green there, there wasn't really anywhere else I was going to put green on this guy because it's obviously all red. So I used the green as like the toxic water type of thing coming out of this pipe. So you've got a bit of, normally you'd sometimes obviously try and do a triangle so maybe I'd find another piece of green, but there wasn't really one on this point, so just tied it in with that really. So a smaller base, just a tiny piece of that same stuff cut off and just pushed in, super glued in to begin with, and then glued in better with some PVA afterwards. The little bubbles, they're just dollops of super glue. I let them go off, paint them white to make them a bit more. Again, you could do a lot more with that base. You can darken areas, and there's a lot more you could do. I just wanted to do a simple base, enough to show off the figure. There we go. If we can get any closer on. Oh, let's get back out again. So as I say, there's some photos at the end. As I say, I don't know if it's worth trying to sell these or not. I don't think anybody wants two corn berserkers, especially with one with a pouch upside down. But I might try and put them on, try and raise a bit more funds. But really enjoyable. It just shows, if you've got some spares and some odds and sods knocking around, you don't have to do expensive bases. These bases were actually 3D printed, not by me. I didn't know I was buying 3D printed. I just asked for those particular bases, which is why they're a bit. We've got some of the 3D print now. You can see obviously the striations in it, but again, that don't bother me. That's fine for what I needed. But yeah, just stuff you've got knocking around, how you can make a base fairly simple. You could do a heck of a lot more with this. You can put more colours into the grey. I just wanted it fairly dark though to show the red off, if that makes sense. So thanks a lot for stopping by. I know there's a lot of you that's not into like 40k and stuff like that, so you know your interest is minimal. But yeah, just thought I'd show them off as I've done them. I will be doing an unboxing of a Star Wars figure next. It's not one of the big statues. I wish it was. I keep looking at them, but there's no way I can justify 140, 150 pound. I could make a purchase of one, but I'd be sleeping on the streets, holding my statue for what's left of my life. So maybe not. And I've got something else to show as well at the same time. Right, sorry, digressing as always. Look after yourselves, and we'll catch each other soon on another video.